Yeah, we are doing the collective read for Thursday, December 22nd. Now, yesterday we had a very intense reading and we actually pulled 6 cards as opposed to 5. I normally do 5 to do our daily collective. So let's get into it because I'm really curious to see what has shifted or changed between yesterday and today. So, all right, let's get into it. And welcome to everybody who's joining us here. Let us find out what is happening. So, okay, can I get 3 more cards? 3 more cards, please. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of people today, guys. A lot of people coming up in our reading. So what are we seeing right now? Well, I'm going to say this. Masculine and feminine are both feeling, we've seen this in this week's readings. We've seen the fact that there's been some things going a little topsy-turvy. And I think that what it's really meaning is that a lot of people are feeling very vulnerable right now. It's hitting a little bit differently, depending on whether you align to masculine or feminine energy, bearing in mind that that's not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to. Immediately, we are seeing there's that Emperor coming up in its reversal. Now, if you're someone who aligns to masculine energy, this is going to feel today like things are a little out of control and you're going to have to work through that. This is aligning very much to what we've seen in the cards in the daily reads as well, because we did see that this week has got like a bit of a world reversed in it. So expect or anticipate just some feelings of a loss of control, some vulnerability. Make sure that this isn't triggering you if you're a masculine right now, because the thing is, Emperor energy, when it's in its upright, is one that seeks power, right? It seeks power, it seeks control. And when we see the Emperor in its reversal, this could indicate the tendency today to potentially move into avenues of trying to gain control, but like not in the best way possible. Think more about collaboration more than anything. The Emperor is not one who likes to collaborate that much, but this is a way that you might be able to get better on track. What you're going to find today, especially if you're in masculine energies, anywhere that you're really trying to put your control or put your power into, is not really going to work as well as you typically would expect it to. Now, if you're someone who aligns to feminine energy right now, this is really going to communicate as feeling that, there is some masculine energy around you that feels a little out of whack, or feels a little bit like they have kind of lost a bit of their control or their power over themselves. Let's just handle this as smoothly as possible, because I see what's happening with the feminine here, and I think the feminine is kind of in a place where they know how to handle this energy. But it's just the idea that is there's just an overall sense of a loss of control, and that's okay. We saw the fact that surrender is something that's very necessary for this week. Being able to surrender to situations or circumstances is what's really going to help you power through this moment. And I think especially with the Emperor coming up here to begin our reading, this is what the real message is. I'm also seeing here with the Hierophant reverse, this is a continuation on what we saw in yesterday's card, the 3 of Pentacles in its reversal. There is something right now that needs to break down in order for something new to be built. And so this is speaking a lot about needing to move into a place of unconventionality right now in order to really have the successes that you hope to achieve. This could be speaking about, breaking of conventionality, breaking of any kind of contracts or agreements that you may have with other people. This is always kind of speaking about really breaking free and moving into unconventional spaces. So again, with that idea of really kind of relinquishing control, allowing yourself to move into this place where you're willing to try something a little different if it works, right? The big question here is whether it works or not. That's going to be the name of the game this week as it relates to how you're feeling and what you need to do. Now, the center card for this week's, for the day's daily reading, is the Queen of Swords in its reversal. And again, I'm saying, when I said about this loss of control or this, instability, this is a place where I feel like the feminine and the masculine are both feeling it. So the energies are the same in both places, but they're handling it in very different ways. Now, while that masculine energy is one that's really struggling with the fact that they feel like they've lost control of a certain situation or lost some power, feminine is moving into this more with just being much more accommodating and agreeable to situations than they may normally do. This is a point where like there is some boundary crossing element that may be here, but this is an intentional moment for the feminine energy. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just the fact that, there's some, and keeping in mind that this is not based on gender, but what you feel most aligned to, there is a moment right now that's really saying that the feminine energy is really kind of just allowing this to happen much more easily than the masculine, because it's just more them just understanding that there is an act of surrender that's required for the circumstance or situation, and just kind of expecting and accepting the reality of things as they are. So that's going to hit a little bit differently. Now for masculines, this is going to talk about the fact that feminine energy, even though you're not feeling a lot of control, you don't really need to assert any control on anything right now. It's not really the right strategy, because feminine is in a place where they're very open, they're very agreeable, they're going to be very willing to like hear you out or make accommodations. So just keep that in mind, that like maybe the reason you're feeling like that is not necessarily just because of your own fears of loss of power, but there's a reflecting point that's happening between the masculine feminine energy, and you're both in a very similar headspace right now. So please keep that in mind. More than anything though, and I like this a lot, we see here with the Four of Pentacles in its reversal, this need to share. So masculine and feminine are both in a place where like I feel that there has been a lot of keeping things closed off, keeping things to themselves. This is the shift that we're seeing this week, out of this kind of internal isolation, if you will, or an understanding that, in order to connect with the masculine and feminine energy, there needs to be some release that happens. There needs to be something that is kind of given forth from one to the other. And that's what we're seeing today with the Four of Pentacles. And all of this, and you'll be very happy to see this. I know a lot of you will be very happy to see this, bringing up Eight of Wands in its upright, which means communication, action, movement, things shifting, things finally moving free. We've seen the fact that like the last few days, we've seen this stillness moment occurring where everyone's kind of like, you saw it yesterday. I brought up the fact that nobody was really doing anything. They were just kind of sitting in the space that they were in. Not today. Today is the day that like acceptance of things is moving in, and expect communication, expect that exchange. And I'm seeing that it's going to be rather positive, so long as, like I said, as long as masculine and feminine don't get into kind of any control issues. Control is not the watchword, and breaking out of kind of old scripts and old patterns is also the watchword this week. So, all right, we are going to continue. For anyone who is paying for readings, I will do those once I complete the daily collective. So I do see you there. You can get on the list. We are going to continue right now. So clarifying right now between the Hierophant and the Emperor in its reversal. Can I please get a card to clarify between, again, this kind of accepting of situations as they are and willing to try something new or different? I love this card. I love seeing this card between them, because we have here the Six of Pentacles. Masculine energy particularly, I think you're understanding that this whole situation or circumstance you find yourself in right now is going to really require you to kind of break out of what you might typically anticipate or expect. It's going to make you kind of feel like you need to do something a little bit different, and that's going to feel like a bit of an act of generosity here. Being able to kind of understand that you need to be a little generous in this situation, because the situation is one that is unique and it's strange and it's requiring something. And this is why I think we see the Emperor in the reversal, because the Emperor is not someone who would typically be inclined to like move forward from a place of like charity, but that is the shift that's happening, because it's understanding that that's how you're going to kind of fix whatever is breaking down in the midst of this controlling energy. Now for feminines, this is feeling the need or potential to want to give something forward to masculine energy that might allow them some path forward in the wake of things breaking down in terms of old contracts, old agreements, old scripts or old conventional ways of doing things. This is what's allowing you to move forward, is recognizing that you feel that that energy near you right now isn't one that is so like controlling, and that's what's allowing you to come in, because feminine is recognizing that the masculine is in a more agreeable headspace, if you will, or in a place where they'd be willing to like make more agreements or compromises, if you were, like, because to me, truly, like when we see the Six of Pentacles with the Emperor in reversal, we're almost seeing like a place of compromise, a place of understanding that everyone needs to give a little something in order for something to be established or corrected. Now, clarifying right now between this Hierophant reverse. So this is the thing that's between masculine and feminine that's breaking down. It's these old ways of doing things, these old standard patterns. This is the point between them that is connecting them and trying to figure out how to move forward from here. So clarifying between this Queen of Swords and its reversal and these old patterns, these old contracts that are breaking down. Can I please, and this choice to have to take an unconventional approach, both from masculine and feminine side. Can I please get one card to clarify? One card to clarify, please. We've got two coming up. Yeah. This is the acknowledgement that there is, for feminine, it's the acknowledgement that there is some kind of battle that's been fought and is over, but there is also a desire not to necessarily leave the situation the way it is. And that's because feminine, and this is why feminine's putting their sword down, feminine doesn't want to fight anymore. Feminine doesn't want to create any kind of difficulty or any kind of aggression. They really want to restore connections. This is what's on the feminine's mind, is building back the material of the connection. This is going to speak a lot towards karmic situations or seeing karmic situations that you want to remedy. So it's almost this idea that like the dust has settled on something, feminine is recognizing that, and now they're trying to find positive ways to move forward from this point. I'm okay with that, both absolutely. This is really, yesterday we saw that everyone was really kind of holding the pose, unsure of how to proceed. Today is the day we see people making some very specific strategies on how to move forward. Now, clarifying between this Queen of Swords, so this feminine energy right now that really doesn't want to fight, is willing to put their boundaries down a little, is willing to make some concessions to allow these things to happen. And by doing that, we see the same energy as the masculine in a different card with the Four of Pentacles in its reversal, which is kind of being able to give forward and be a little bit more generous to the other energy. I love the fact that we're seeing like a very deep reflection point happening between the two right now. Can I please get one card to clarify? One card to clarify, please. We've got way more than one card. We're going to read them because they came out. It's okay, and so this is a deep clarifier here. So we've got four coming out. So more than anything, feminine is feeling very vulnerable right now. However, they also feel like there isn't any kind of offer coming forward. And this is what's driving feminine to go into action right now, because they feel like the masculine, the energy is one where nobody's really coming forward to do anything. And feminine wants to revive or restore something that has kind of been dormant for a bit. And that's what's causing feminine to come moving through very quickly, because it's almost this understanding that, you know, this is an energy around the masculine where the masculine needs like a little bit of encouragement that's going to allow them to come rushing in. So that's really what we see happening here, which is why feminine is putting their guards down and they're being more generous, is because they're trying, really it's the feminine trying to like create this entry point by which that the masculine can come forward and communicate. Now, clarifying right now between the Four of Pentacles in its reversal. So this overall feeling of wanting to be more generous, wanting to share more information, and this communication coming in fast and furious. Can I please get one card to clarify here? All right, let's see. We've got one card here. The Fool in its reversal, which we love, because what this really says is yes, there is a moment right now where everyone wants to kind of be more generous and go forward with communication, but everyone's being very cautious around that communication. They're trying to learn from the lessons. They understand that there's a risk in doing so, but this is also a sign that like the mistakes of the past will not be repeated, because everyone in the situation or circumstance is learning the lessons that they need along the way. And there is a desire for a new start, but it's not just a reckless new start into something new. This is a new start into something where you're really kind of being very careful and considering how you want to move forward and how you want to approach it as you push through. I am not hating these cards today. All right, we're going to get some clarity now. We're going to continue. So clarifying between the Six of Pentacles. So this feeling of generosity, this feeling of giving back into circumstances and situations that you may have pulled away from in the past. Because it's the understanding that the dust is kind of settled and there is this need to kind of restore some of the connection points that happened after whatever this issue was, which we've been seeing in the cards all week, like coming back to this restoration point, this deep need to restore things. Can I please get one card to clarify here? One card, please. There it is. Wheel of Fortune reversed. Making the best of a bad situation. That is the watchword, actually. This is really about making the best of the bad situation. This is understanding that there may have been some events that have occurred or are still occurring that are not ideal, but it's also understanding that there's a bigger plan in mind, and it's coming to terms with the fact that things had to happen this way, the way that they needed to happen, in order to allow these new clearing out, as it were. This is like what you're seeing, like this is feeling very much like, again, like what we see with like a situation of like a tower reversal, where it's like something bad had to happen, but that bad thing that had to happen is going to lead to something good, or the desire to have something good, which is why we see this generosity, which is why we see this restoration that's occurring. This is still, I need to point out though, because this is in its reversal, this is still something that is still going on. So this may be a little bit behind for some of you, because some of you may still be experiencing the issue that needs to kind of settle down in order for things to move forward. But this is a reminder right now that if you're going through something like that, remember that just because something is bad right now doesn't mean it's going to continue to be bad. It just means that you've hit the low point on the wheel, that this all had to happen the way it did, and that there is a positive that will be coming from it. You just need to give it a little bit of time. Now, clarifying right now between this desire for restoration after a period of conflict, this desire of forming and reshaping and strengthening those old bonds, and this overall feeling that everyone is still feeling very raw from this. They're being very resistant to kind of come forward with offers because of the fear and the anxiety, but there is a desire to kind of have things come back to life, to come out of this period of rest and to rush in very quickly, knowing what you want now. Can I please get one card to clarify between these 2 points? Hold on. One card, please. One card, please. Whoa, that's way more than one card. We're going to take the top card. There he is. We've got devil energy. So I need to point out there is something a little silly about this, which is some of you may be using this opportunity. You may, even though there is something that is a moment of restoration, don't let your some of you may be using like your baser instincts to allow this communication to go through. And I need to point out, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. It is Capricorn season. This is a Capricorn card, but it's this idea of like having someone reach out in like the most like practical, base, carnal ways, because you know that that's the connection point, and that's what's going to kind of help reestablish things moving forward, even if that's like not really where the headspace is right now. So we're just going to keep that in mind. Might not be the best approach, but I do think that's also speaking of the fact that there is still some toxicity that needs to be addressed, which is why we see this Wheel of Fortune still in its reversal, right? It's still kind of trying to clear this toxicity. And this, like, I think that there's, I need to point out that there is a deep connection here. There is a deeper karmic connection, but one that's still a little bit more rooted into some of like the more base desires than more of a spiritual inclination. So that's just something to keep in mind as a piece to work through as you go through today. because this is kind of coming out centerpiece here. It's not a bad card, but it's just something that we need to be mindful of. Clarifying right now between, again, this like desire to move forward, this connection point, this like very visceral connection point between masculine and feminine that needs to be addressed. But also this desire, like trying to move forward from a place of like anxiety or feeling vulnerable. And that's why someone's feeling vulnerable. So they're going to come forward in a way that like doesn't address the vulnerability, just feels more like kind of scratching itches, as it were, because they don't want to get into the deeper things that are making them feel so vulnerable and emotional. Can I please get one card to clarify? Woof! That's more than one. Okay, but I see this. Wow. Okay, this is a crazy combination, because what we're really seeing here, especially with like the Fool reversed, this is beautiful. And all of this desire to kind of rekindle something after a period of rest, right? We've got this beautiful combination happening right now of the ends of certain things and the start of new things, right? There's some things that you're allowing to kind of pass over or pass through, situations that you're letting come to their completion point, and really chasing after the places that are making you your most happy, feeling your most optimistic. This is really where you're going and headed towards. So I love seeing this combination. It's just a very heavy combination, which is why we see again this vulnerability coming up in the midst of this ending. It's okay to embrace it as long as you acknowledge that this is what's happening. It's accepting what's past and then moving into a place of optimism, which is why we're getting the Fool in its reversal, which is taking cautious steps forward, using the lessons that you've learned from the past situations or the past conflicts that are still resolving. We are going to continue right now. So clarifying right now between this Wheel of Fortune reverse. So something bad happening, but like a bad thing happening with like some benefit, trying to find some benefit to it happening, but also recognizing that some of the reasons that these bad things happen are still there and they still need to be worked through. They're not going anywhere. And I do like the fact that they're here so we can acknowledge them and move forward in a foundational place, right? A card seen is a card recognized. So it's recognizing that there is this like very visceral pull to certain substances or certain individuals or certain bad habits that needs to be addressed. And that's why you're going through this like low point on the Wheel of Fortune cycle. Can I please get one card to clarify? All right, we've got two cards here. Now, this is going to hit a little differently depending on whether you align to masculine or feminine energy. But this is really seeing the fact that, like, some of you are waiting for offers. Some of you are waiting for that energy to come back in like an emotional way. But again, if it's caught in devil energy, it's going to be very hard for that old energy to come forward in a way that's actually reciprocal or emotional. And so instead, we see that for many, you guys are going to be using this time to really concentrate and focus on the work that you want to do, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? It's like understanding like, okay, this emotional appeal, this emotional gift, if it were, I'm not receiving that. I'm not getting that. I'm not getting that apology. I'm not getting that like emotional outreach. So instead, you're drawing your attention to your work. Can also be that devil energy, can also indicate or signify the fact that, you yourself are not in a place where you are willing to come forward and apologize or do the things that you need to do. So there is a bit of a reflection point here to ask yourself if you are taking the steps that you want to take in order to correct the things that need to be corrected. Now, clarifying right now between this devil energy. So still recognizing and acknowledging that there is still some kind of toxic situation or scenario in your life that needs to be worked through, with this desire to allow certain things to end and moving towards your own joy. So two cards I really like to get clarification on right now. Can I please get one card to clarify? There it is. Time. For many of you, you're figuring out that the solution to this situation is just going to be time. That you don't need to, that even though you feel the need to rush into certain things, you're letting things evolve and take the time they need right now. Understanding that time is really on your side and that there is no need to rush anything that's truly for you. Letting the things that are not for you just kind of end and draw conclusion points, because you know you aren't in a rush and you have many different things that you're working on that you're hoping will reach a positive achievement point. Now, and I love how we're seeing all of this kind of returning to like putting in work today, really focusing on work. That's very much aligned to Capricorn season. Clarifying right now between the Eight of Pentacles. So really focusing on your work and the things that you're trying to get done, and also allowing yourself to understand that sometimes time is the best solution to a problem. Can I please get the final card for today's read? Whoop, that's more than, are these our three? Okay, I think these are our three. Yeah. Did I stutter when I said time? Patience. Patience is the key word for today as well. Being able to understand that what is meant for you is going to come to you. Divine timing is at play. And you may be feeling a little frustrated right now because you may feel like you don't have everything that you need to make these things happen. But this is the surrender I'm talking about. This is surrendering and understanding that you don't necessarily always need to put action into something, particularly if it's divinely protected and being watched, that these things will happen as they need to. Because you aren't looking for other options. Whoever, if you're receiving this message, you know what you want. You're not going anywhere. You're not seeking out other alternatives. You're just kind of holding your pose still. So I like to point out that this is very much aligned to yesterday's message, where a lot more mental activities now happening and figuring out like the steps forward. But still, there is still that moment of pause that's happening. That's saying not yet, but very soon, and I'm willing to wait. So I'm very okay with this reading. It's a very beautiful reading, especially given the one we saw yesterday. Now, bottom of the deck on this, keeping in mind, Two of Swords. So for many of you, there is an intuitive action that you really want to take right now. There is something that your intuition is calling you to do. You're just not ready to do it yet. You're just holding on. You're like holding your breath on this because there is, I think, some fear and anxiety, especially with that devil energy coming up. There is a fear of doing the wrong thing, and that's what's holding you from doing anything. So that's something to keep in mind. Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. You know what the right thing to do is. You're in a place where, again, especially with strength reversed right now, wounds are still raw. You may not necessarily be ready for it, but you're forming a plan in your head as to how you want to move forward. Give yourself that time. We see Temperance here is the card we're ending today's spread on. You don't need to rush into anything. You just need to give yourself the time and space you need to make sure that you're making the best choice for yourself. Well, that's it. That is the daily collective read. Just a reminder, if you enjoyed this reading and would like a personal reading, you can book a personal reading on my website, graystrega.com. Please remember, if you book a personal reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to schedule the reading. Two different buttons. If you don't do both, we can't have the reading. So please make sure to hit both. Also keep in mind that if you are a subscriber to my TikTok channel, you can take 10% off any of my services when you go to book. Just mention your subscriber ID when you go to pay. I hope you guys are going to have a great day, and we will do this again tomorrow. Thank you.